All right, today we're jumping into a pretty big controversy that's been stirring things up in Canada. We're going to break down some really explosive claims from our source material about how the country is processing refugees. It all revolves around a new app and a super heated debate in Parliament. So let's dive right in.
So, the big question at the heart of all this is how? How are thousands of people apparently entering Canada with what's being called a one-touch system? I mean, that phrase alone sounds pretty wild, right? So, let's actually figure out what they mean by that. Okay, first things first. What exactly is this one-touch system? The sources we're looking at describe it as this new app-based process that's really at the center of this entire firestorm.
So, according to the head of the Border Agency Union, this is how it all goes down. A claimant arrives and provides just the bare bones basics, what they call tombstone data, and their biometrics, like fingerprints. But here's the part that's raising all the alarms. They are then allowed into the country. And get this, they have 45 days to complete their own security screening using an app. So let's just walk through that one more time. You arrive in Canada, you give some basic info and your biometrics, you get instructions for an app, and then, and this is the key detail, you are physically in the country before that full in-depth security screening is even done. So, you might be wondering, what's the big deal with an app? Well, according to the Border Services Union, the main problem is that you're losing that critical human element, that face-to-face interaction, right at the point of entry. And this quote from the union president really says it all. He says, "This is a terrible thing. It's during the interview. That's where we gain that intelligence, and that's currently been lost." I mean, his argument is crystal clear, that in-person interview is where officers can really dig into a person's story, ask questions, and gather intelligence. And he claims that step is just gone.
Okay, so if that human intelligence gathering is off the table, what are the supposed consequences? Well, the source material points to some pretty specific and, frankly, startling numbers.
The claim being made is this. Out of about 100,000 claimants every year, roughly 10% never actually finish that app-based screening. You do the math, that's 10,000 people. And according to the source, these are individuals who are let into the country and then just disappear. It's then left up to inland officers to try and track them down. But you know, the app isn't the only thing under a microscope here. The source material also zooms in on another really contentious issue, the health benefits that are given to claimants. It's all part of something called the Interim Federal Health Program, or IFHP for short. And when you look at what's covered, it's pretty extensive. The source, pulling from a clip in Parliament, lists things like prescription drugs, vision care, dental, even things that many Canadian citizens have to get extra insurance for, like mental health counseling and physiotherapy. So what's the bill for all of this? Well, the member of Parliament in that same clip puts a number on it, and it's a big one. $900 million. That's the alleged cost of this IFHP program, which definitely adds a whole other financial layer to this debate. And that huge price tag leads us to a really tense moment in Parliament that was highlighted in the source material. We basically see an MP go head-to-head with the Minister of Immigration, questioning her directly about how these benefits are actually handed out. The whole showdown really boils down to this one very direct question from the MP to the minister. If someone's claim for refugee status is denied, do they keep getting all of this health coverage? And this is where things get really interesting. The minister's answer? A simple, flat no. But the MP is ready for that. He immediately fires back, reading from what he says is the government's own website, which appears to say the exact opposite. So, what's the real story here? Well, the minister did clarify her answer later on. She explained that just because the initial board, the IRB, denies a claim, that's not the end of the road. The benefits actually continue as long as that person is still in the legal process, which can include a whole series of appeals. Now, to really hammer his point home, the MP, Matt Strauss, made this direct comparison. He pointed out that many of his own constituents, like seniors, don't get coverage for things like dental and vision unless they go out and pay for supplemental health insurance themselves. So let's take a step back and connect these pieces. The source material is essentially presenting the app issue and this benefits controversy as two symptoms of what they see as a much larger problem, a lack of government oversight. And to really underscore that critique, the source brings out one final, absolutely staggering number. The claim is that the CBSA, the border agency, has lost track of 500,000 people. 500,000 people who were supposed to be scheduled for deportation. So ultimately, the story being told through the source material connects all of this. The one-touch app, the fight over health benefits, and this massive number of people who are unaccounted for. It's all packaged together to build a case for a broader argument about a lack of control and oversight in Canada's immigration and refugee system. And all of this really leaves us with a fundamental question, doesn't it? The whole debate presented here boils down to this constant push and pull between efficiency and security. As we rely more on apps and automated systems to streamline things, what happens to the human checks and balances? Where do we draw the line between a system that's fast and a system that's secure? It's a tough question, and it's right at the heart of this entire discussion.